Okay, now I figured out. For sure, not a great way to go, but yeah, it's working, so let's deal with this in another moment. One thing that's important here that I just noticed that we don't have the status. So let's status status okay on creation. Now I think that's good enough. Let's create a new database here. Oops. Let's see if it will create. Yeah. User database instance ID. Great. Okay, so now let's go here and we need to create our client. So just to not lose this work, git add dot git commit dash m. What's the name of this function? Agent communication get done. Git push. Okay, now in source I need to create the agent. Okay, so this agent will be using requests, and I'll need to make a request to while true, make a request to get tasks, split tasks into minor tasks, save into a local DB. Check local DB for not finished tasks. Execute tasks and when executed return to server the status. Okay, so this will be our workflow. Okay, so I just quickly created some stuff here. Nothing big, just to not lose much time. So I created this function, create DB. Let me just change this to agent.sqlite3. Great. Now we'll create this database. We'll create this table, right? So this table will have an integer as a primary key, no problem. The user ID, database instance ID, task order, the task, and the status of the task. So the idea here is to query this endpoint, and this will be the endpoint, the server plus endpoint, and we'll get all the data as a JSON. Let's just first print all this data. So let's just print the dict. data. And let's break at the end. Okay, so come here. That's fine. I don't need to do it via web, so Python 3 might not buy. Okay, so let me just print this. This is not a function. Okay, so let me just JSON object must be a string, bytes or byte array, not method. Okay, so ChatGPT issues. I just were using HTTPS and then using non my non-actual endpoint here. So now it seems to be working and the client wasn't running, so just a bunch of stuff. So now we have all this stuff here. Let's just uncomment it. Here we do have the status, so for k in data dot keys, for k in data dot keys, let me just first check the type of this data. Print type data. Okay, that's already a dict, so no problem. So for king data.keys, let's get data on key, and we want CPU, RAM, disk. We want status, CPU, RAM, disk. We will also need the client information to create the structure. So here in server, interfaces, views, we also need user ID and database instance ID. User ID, database instance ID. Okay, so now let's come back here on agent. User ID, database instance ID. Okay, great. Now, if status is on create, that is easy. So we just need to create some tasks that we already have splitted. So let's just bring this back there. here we can create some format functions. Where's $1? Let's just have the comments, it will be enough. Okay, so we need to create all these tasks. So we have this function insert task. So let's just have all these here. So user ID, database instance ID, track order. Okay, user and database. Task order is important too. We don't have it yet. But the task order we will create on the client side, not on the server side. So no problem on this. Here will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the task will be with this data. And the status will be, in this case, we'll always to do, because we're creating the task. Okay, great. So we'll insert these, and the task we need now, we need to perform this infect stuff. So bring up. Now it's time to get our first one. So the task will be task 1. Let's format it, and this is user ID, this is database instance ID. Nothing more. Yeah, nothing more. Okay, task 1. Now let's go to the next one. This is no good. I need to make this that way. All.sh, create virtual file system, step 1. Great, so create virtual file system. Okay. And here we will use user ID, use database instance ID. Okay, great. Let's now do the same for task 2. And here almost the same thing. Here will be user ID, database instance ID, and disk. Okay, great. So now we need to go to step 3. Sorry, create the directory. Directory created. Create the ISO. Creating the ISO. Create the user that just repeated. Now we need to do this task. Okay. So here will be user ID, database instance ID, task 3, task 2. Let me just break some lines. Okay. So let's go to task 4. Record on FS tab. User ID, database instance ID, great. Task 4. Task 5. Task 6. Task 6, then mount the ISO. Almost the same thing as in here. Okay, so next task 6, task 6. Next task 7 and 8. create Docker Compose file. In our Docker Compose file, we do have a bunch of stuff that's, let's see. Task 7. And here, yep, $1 will be user ID. $2 will be database instance ID. $3 will be port. $4 will be password. $5 will be CPU. $6 will be RAM. There is $7, the results. So one thing that isn't here is the password and port. So I need to get these two. Password and port. So from here on the server views, password, port, we have not defined it yet, the database port. So let's go here to models. Port will be integer. Default, let's set to 0 just to not break our database, but on database create, we need to ensure some stuff. So dbi.port should get a define get db avail port. So this should go to databases. Will get database instance.objects.filter port equals port. So random.rand int, I want something from 20,000 all the way up to 30,000. Port will be this. If PGaaS while true, if not PGaaS, break return port. Great. So here will be this one. Great. So now we have a port here. Let's test it. Probably this is returning stuff, so let's just get here, make migrations, interfaces, migrate, run server. Let's create a new database, test, create, this is the password, go to databases, and now from our client we have some problem here on Alif. Task 1, task 2, 7. This if should be for, yeah, indentation error. Okay. So I don't need this anymore because it's already done. One thing that must be unique here is that the same user trying to do the same task again. So let's put this unique. I think that we just need to make unique like that. Unique and user database instance ID and the task. This should be unique. Okay, we have some problem here on create. Just undo what I did. Just set everything as it was, and then unique user ID, database instance ID, task. For case, yeah, we have some issue here. User ID. This comes from user ID, owner ID. Database instance ID, ID, great. Status. Here on, not about it. Status on creation. deleting status not defined. Yeah, for sure it's not defined because this is data status. Password, CPU, RAM, disk, port, status. Now just status. Just revising. Yeah, seems to be good. Has no column database instance ID. It does have. Let me just delete this. Okay, so probably it doesn't have. Or I'm doing something wrong. Database instant copy. Same name. Connect. SQLite. Open. Home. Projects. Agent. No tables. Yeah, so probably it doesn't have. Let me just create this table. And see if I'm not doing something wrong. Okay, let me try here. So create. Missing commas. Shit. Okay, so now we have some problem on number of plugins. The current statement is 4 and there are 5 supplied. So okay, insert into. Let me just add one more just to make sure. User ID, database instance ID, task order, task and status. Yeah, probably I mean that. No, task 7. Task 7, task 7. And unique constraint failed. Yep, no problem. Let's just delete this bunch of stuff. Delete. It's refresh. Not this one. Tables, tasks. Let me just go to view. Data. Let me just delete. Start from the beginning. 8 also problem. Task 7, task 8. Start container. Yeah, great. So we have some progress here. No problem. Start container. Source agent. Task 8 equals user ID, database instance ID, user ID, database instance ID, task 8. Save. Now I can delete these and run this again. So now if I take a look at my tables, let me just refresh it. View table, data, we have one, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8. Why 8 is not here? Delete this again. Okay, so insert user database instance. I can't see why it isn't executing. Refresh. Select all from tasks. 8 is not here. Why 8 is not here? Print task 8. Not only 8 isn't here, as we only have one. Let me disconnect. Oh, now is everything here. Okay, just my mind. So okay, now we have the client saving everything locally as to do, and then the next step is to come here on the top, get the next task, execute, and then do this again. But let's just save all this stuff and continue it in another moment.